Hi, it's Colin Cowherd. I started The Volume to bring you some of the most authentic voices in sports. While you're here, make sure you hit subscribe. Thanks.
That was probably the most heartbreaking loss of the season that I can think of, because it was one of the best Laker efforts in terms of the things that haven't gone well for the most part this season that went well tonight. You know, I talked a lot last week on the show about how much this next stretch of Laker games, this next 24 games, was going to really test their mettle. Because under the circumstances, where they are in the standings, their situation with how much talent they have and how poorly they've played all season, and with the Anthony Davis injury, that there would be kind of a loss of hope. Like, what's the point of us putting in all this work if there's not something achievable at the end? I had a feeling that that type of test would come several times over the course of the next month and a half, and it came early in this game when the Clippers shot incredibly well to start the game on difficult shot profile while the Lakers were doing their job on defense. And then meanwhile, on the other end of the floor, you keep seeing like wide open three for Malik Monk, clank. Wide open three for Carmelo Anthony, clank. And next thing you know, you're down 49-33 after, Luke Kennard makes another crazy contested 30-footer. And I'm like, here you go. Here's your first test. Here's your first opportunity to decide whether or not you really want to do this. And they did. They decided they wanted to do it. And that effort in the second half down the line was probably the best that I've seen this entire season outside of LeBron. And I have to start with LeBron here because this is one of the most unusual stretches of games from him that I can remember seeing. I would say that he was number one to blame for losing against Golden State a couple weeks ago before the All-Star break. He was horrific in the fourth quarter on both ends of the floor. Defensively, he was throwing the ball away. On offense, he couldn't finish around the rim. He was really struggling with Golden State's length, and we all threw it away, right? You're like, that's weird. LeBron doesn't do that very often. That's just an outlier performance. We move on. And we were all proven right when all of a sudden against Utah, he reaches deep and just pulls out one of the best performances in the fourth quarter that we've seen from him in recent years. I think he had 15 in the fourth and basically carries the team to a victory against Utah. And then here we are against the Clippers. As a second half run from Malik Monk and Carmelo Anthony and Talen Horton-Tucker and Dwight Howard has amounted to a lead in the fourth quarter. I believe they were up 6 at one point, and it's just teed up there for LeBron to carry him home. And I tweeted out, they just need to get something from him. They don't need a lot. They just need something. And they got almost nothing. I tried to look at it. There were a couple of contested defensive rebounds he got, and then there was that one pick and pop where he hit Carmelo Anthony for the three. Outside of that, it was a lot of missed defensive assignments. He missed back-to-back switches on the perimeter, one that gave Robert Covington a wide-open three, and then another that gave Luke Kennard Coffey a wide-open three at the top of the key. He had a play where he kind of got out of his rhythm and started talking trash to Robert Covington and then just lost the handle and gave up a foul the other way. Like, it was just, I can't remember a time that I've seen LeBron have two this bad fourth quarters in such a short period of time. And it's really unfortunate because down the line, everyone else on the roster, we're going to touch on them all at some point tonight, everyone else on the roster did everything necessary to win that game. Not just to win that game. If they shoot a little better and they get more out of LeBron, that group can be above 500, even with this intense schedule without Anthony Davis over the course of the next month. That's how well they played tonight. That's how well they did their jobs in the varying lineups that they went with tonight. And so I feel bad. I feel bad for the team, and I feel bad for the fans because, they could have let it go, and they went for it tonight, and LeBron just wasn't there. And again, you got to give LeBron a huge amount of benefit of the doubt because his resume is so extensive, and even his recent resume, he's still one of the top 2 or 3 players in the world. But this was bad. That was a game where if you get even 10% more out of LeBron, you win. And instead you lose because you get nothing from him. And that's really discouraging. I was talking with one of my producers before the show. I would have gone to Russ on that last possession. How wild is that? Like that's the type of night LeBron was having. He wasn't dribbling the ball well. He wasn't shooting the ball well. He wasn't making reads well. He was all over the place. And Russ had it going. In the fourth quarter, he had a couple of drives to the basket. He had a mid-range jump shot that he made around the foul line. He had a little floater that he made. Like Russ had it going. I would have gone in that direction. Now, it ended up working out fine because the Clippers ended up sending a double at LeBron, but they just didn't execute well out of that. And obviously, you're not going to love a contested 30-foot three from Melo. But at the end of the day, if you want a silver lining, LeBron's not going to play that bad. And they didn't shoot particularly well. And everything that they did from top to bottom with the role players is replicable. Those are things they can continue to do moving forward. And so I want to go piece by piece through some of these guys just to talk specifically about what they did so well. So I want to start with Dwight. You know, I talked a lot this season. Like, Dwight is a good backup center. And a lot of the issues that have come with him this season have had to do with circumstance. Injuries have forced the Lakers to lean more on him than you'd want to. Instead of using him sparingly as a bench big, he's been forced to play big minutes on a lot of nights. And as a result, he's looked old, which is something that happens when you don't have that type of gas in the tank to carry you through those stretches. But tonight, I don't know if it's the All-Star break or if he just was showing some fight or what the deal was. That was as dominant a defensive performance from Dwight that I've seen in a long time. And he was killing on the offensive glass, doing some catch. He had bobbled a few passes around the rim, but he was really good on the offensive end as well. And so, particularly in the first half when the wheels were coming off, when the Lakers were missing all their shots and the Clippers were hitting everything, that could have just as easily been a 25-point game at halftime. And Dwight Howard was a huge part of why they were able to stay competitive. One of my favorite things about Dwight is he's active in drop coverages. I hate drop coverages when you're doing them with someone like DeAndre Jordan, where he's kind of just waiting around the rim, and it's like, yeah, if you drive right into me, I'll block you. But if you take anything from 15 to 5 feet, it's all yours, bro. Like, I'm not even going to go out there. That's kind of the DeAndre Jordan approach. What Dwight Howard does that I love is he's active and he's up on the ball handler, and he got a bunch of strips tonight where he's so crafty with his hands. People forget that's part of what makes him such a good defensive player in his prime. It's not just that he's a freak. It's not just that he's Superman. It's because he has amazing defensive instincts, and those defensive instincts showed it tonight throughout the game, and he got a lot of cool strips and things along those lines. Melo had another kind of similar game like that, particularly in the second half. The Lakers use him too much in drop coverages. I prefer to switch him because he's just not quick enough to cover ground the way they need him to. But he did a lot defensively in the second half to stay active. He also had a bunch of strips and had a couple of key strips down at the end of the game to get stops. Those are veteran players on this Laker team that are going to need to step up moving forward. And if that can be continued, Melo particularly on the defensive end, and Dwight Howard just night in, night out doing what he does as a backup center, that if they can get that moving forward, it gives you a better chance, especially if LeBron can play a little bit better.